Belal Muhammad actually beat Leon Edwards. Now, isn't that crazy? I'm actually quite surprised, but not too surprised because I did mention that Belal would have to bring a lot of pressure and overwhelm Leon to win in my prediction video. I just thought Leon would be able to adapt to the style, given the fact that he fought similar fighters like Covington and Usman and used his footwork to get away. But I was completely wrong. Belal Muhammad dominated Leon Edwards, doing what Kobe Covington and Kamaru Usman couldn't do, ragdolling Leon all over the octagon, and most importantly, winning the fight. Belal did what he exactly needed to do to win. He kept the pressure on, forced the fight, and got takedowns, not letting Leon find his rhythm or even catch his breath. Belal had Leon rattled and beat him everywhere, in the striking, clinching, and even in the grappling. Leon had some good moments and made it competitive, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't enough. Leon's weakness is pressure, and Belal really exposed that, breaking him mentally in this fight. Let's not forget that Belal did this, and you know what's the craziest thing is that Belal did this at the age of 36, which is unusual in these lower weight classes. Now, I think it's safe to say that we might have overrated Leon Edwards' wrestling defense a bit. I mean, looking back, he was getting ragdolled by Usman in their second fight, which I believe was in Usman's prime. By the third fight, Usman seemed more gun-shy, slower, and not the same fighter anymore. I'm not saying Leon's wrestling defense isn't good. It's obviously good. It's just that it isn't as good as we thought it was, and we were giving it more credit than it actually deserved. Another thing I've noticed is that Leon usually leaves his back wide open when he gets up, and Usman and Covington often didn't do anything about it. They'll just let him get back up. However, Belal didn't allow that. Now, this tends to happen because Usman isn't really focused on any type of submissions, and while Covington sometimes goes for them, it varies. But Belal was different. Instead, he would get on Leon's back and tell him he's not going anywhere. This highlighted some of the weakness in Leon's game. But even with all that being said, you also have to give Belal Muhammad his credit when it came to his boxing. It looked pretty good. Specifically, his jab was sharp, and let's not forget that he even managed to hurt and rock Leon at one point. While he didn't reach Canelo's level, obviously, he still looked good and exposed some weaknesses in Leon's striking, specifically his boxing. Leon's demonstrated that his hands aren't as strong without his kicks. Now, I do think if Leon got his opportunity to use his kicks and got his range down, his boxing would have been much better. But that's the thing, Belal never gave Leon the chance to find his range, so Leon had to fight defensively the whole time. Leon isn't really an aggressive striker. He won't just bite down on his mouthpiece and go for it. I'll admit his defense on the feet is good, but honestly, he can be a bit complacent. Like, he tends to zone out during exchanges. I mean, in general, he's not really throwing much. I mean, the dude throws low output, so I feel like that's what really costed him in this fight. And I'm actually really surprised he never tried to adapt his style, you know? And we've got to talk about the elephant in the room. We've got to talk about how good Belal Muhammad's wrestling it really is, man. It's probably one of the best in the welterweight division because even in the second Leon versus Usman fight, Usman was taking down Leon, but he wasn't doing it like how Belal was doing it. Belal was dead ass dropping Leon on his head. And if you ask me, I think the dude's juicing. I also think Usman was juicing too, but that's another story for another time. But Belal looks freaking huge, man. He looks more huge in this fight than he ever did in his career. Now, I'm not going to take any credit away from Belal. He absolutely beat Leon fair and square, but come on, man. The dude is juicing. If you look in the beginning of his career, like from the regional scene to the UFC to 2 years ago and to now, you can tell that the dude grew a crazy amount of muscle. His back is huge and his veins are popping. He looks freaking crazy. And I thought it was also sus that the dude literally brought up that he was never on steroids after he beat Leon, even though nobody asked him. Just saying. Just saying. You know, it's also crazy that Belal said he's been preparing for Leon for over a year and a half. He mentioned having a plan that Habib made for him, And you could tell that he used it because he was fully locked in. And it's crazy because we doubted Belal time after time. We didn't think he would beat Sean Brady, but then he did. He TKO'd him. We didn't think he would beat Gilbert Burns, but he beat him by decision. We didn't think he would beat Leon. Boom, he won by decision. I knew Belal was good, but I never thought he could beat Leon Edwards. And I've seen a lot of MMA fans saying that Leon just didn't show up tonight. But that's not true. Leon did show up. It's just that Belal never gave him a chance to breathe. Leon is a point fighter, and it takes him a bit to find his range and start picking his opponents apart. Belal, on the other hand, went in and out-grappled him, landed shots on the feet, and mauled him. Some people are criticizing the fight, but let's kind of relax. This wasn't the worst main event of the year. If you ask me, I was actually quite entertained. I also want to mention that Leon never had that fighting spirit. This kind of showed in their second fight with Usman, and it showed in this fight, obviously. There was never a moment where he thought about abandoning his point-based style and just going for it, biting down on the mouthpiece and just trying to win this fight. The only time I saw any type of urgency to finish this fight was in the 5th round when he was throwing ground and pound. He didn't attempt this in the 4th round. Instead, he just held Belal down and maintained the position until the round was ended. I don't know, man. The more I think about it, and I'm not taking anything away from Belal, he clearly beat Leon. But I also believe that Leon's fight IQ costed him in that fight. It's crazy to think that we have Belal Muhammad as the welterweight champion before GTA 6 even came out. And in case you didn't know, Belal also just beat a fighter ranked number 4 in the pound for pound list. That means Belal could technically be considered the greatest welterweight of all time. Because as much as a lot of people want to cope like MMA Guru or The Weasel, it's kind of undeniable now. Look at the list that Belal has now. He's beaten Vicente Luque, Wonder Boy, Sean Brady, Gilbert Burns, and now it's Leon Edwards. I'm not saying that he is, but I am saying that he could be considered one of the greatest welterweight of all time. There is a strong case that can be considered. It was fun with the memes, but we cannot deny that anymore. The guy is probably the GOAT of the welterweight division, man. Isn't that crazy? Now, you're probably wondering what's next for these fighters. There are multiple paths they could take, but one thing is clear. We should not have an immediate rematch between Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammad. Leon wasn't a long reigning champion. He only had 2 title defenses, and he was pretty much dominated in this fight. Therefore, I believe Belal should fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. That's the fight to make, in my opinion. I don't think Belal's title reign will last that long because I do think Shavkat will get past him. Shavkat will likely make it a tough fight and could secure a finish in the 2nd or 3rd round. He is superior to Belal in every way when it comes to the striking, and he can even submit him. Shavkat is a formidable contender in that weight class, almost a perfect fighting machine. Some have even suggested Usman as an opponent, but that's not the right move if you ask me. Usman is on a 3-fight losing streak. And despite being number 1 in the rankings, matching him up with Belal now would be inappropriate if you ask me. And as for Leon Edwards, I think the best move is to match him up against Ian Gary. There's a compelling storyline there, and it would be an interesting fight. Personally, I think Leon would win, primarily because he can outstrike Ian. And if things go south, Leon can always rely on his grappling advantage, as Ian's wrestling defense doesn't seem that good. I could be wrong, but that's how it looks. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.